Hi. Sorry I couldn't be with y'all in person tonight, but hope this is helpful. I just wanted to say good afternoon, good evening, I guess by the time y'all are watching this. My name is Kate Long, and I graduated from UGA with my master's in early childhood education in 2018. I have stayed in Athens to teach in Clark County School District, and it's been a crazy 3 years, but a great 3 years. I'm really happy being a teacher, and finally on year three, I'm starting to find my groove, as they say. So that first year out of college, I taught kindergarten at Alps Road, off of Baxter and Alps near the Beechwood Shopping Center. And last school year, I transferred to Whitehead Road Elementary School, near the Tallahassee Loop exit. Mitchell Bridge Road. There we go. That's what I was thinking of. Oglethorpe exit off the loop, to teach first grade. And this year, Kayla Sanders actually is in your cohort, I think, if y'all are the Block 4s I'm speaking to. Kayla is my student teacher this semester and is awesome. So, a little bit about, I guess, the last year and what it's looked like teaching. So, obviously, I was a second year teacher when the pandemic hit, and that really threw us off. In the beginning, students were just given another week of spring break. It was like kind of like a snow day, exciting. And then it just kept ticking on. We were told really to only review material, not to teach anything new at first. Then after a couple weeks, packets were finally made of worksheets by the district for us to give out to all the students. Or I think there was one set of packets that we made to go ahead and send something home, and then the district printed stuff, and then they bought some computer programs. So it really was a hodgepodge of stuff. A few weeks into that COVID pandemic kind of shut down state, the district did decide, like, oh, there needs to be some live interaction. So they required we have, I think, one live meeting a week. Our school had already made some decisions, so we had slightly different requirements, which was really fortunate. I think we were only required to offer 2 meetings a week, and they were not mandatory. I ended up offering a morning and evening meeting Tuesday and Thursdays to try to accommodate families. But ultimately, it was used just for a check-in, a wellness check, some morning meeting, kind of share a story, not anything super content heavy, especially not teaching new content. But this made definitely every homeroom within the same school different. So, of course, you can imagine across the county, let alone the whole state, it varied so much what instruction kids were getting. And at any one of those meetings, I would have maybe 4 or 5 kids. And they were usually the regular kids. Like if you came in the morning on Tuesday, I'd probably see you in the morning on Thursday. And same with the evening. But it was like 4 to 5 kids out of 21 students total. Um, so, yes. See, I have some notes. I want to make sure I tell y'all everything. So honestly, no one knew really how long it would go on, and we were just kind of going week to week. Eventually, we did start a virtual asynchronous component for the whole grade level, and that worked decently well if families were able to sit down with their kids and have them do the work every day. Ideally, it was something kids could have clicked through on their own, but we hadn't taught them that procedure, so I don't think it played out as strongly as it could have. It was ultimately just like a Google website with a PowerPoint slide for the week posted, and there was, a math activity for each day, a reading passage. I had actually filmed reading and then some comprehension questions, and then a slide that's like, do read to self for 15 minutes and a story time, read aloud video with a writing prompt. I mean, that was about it. And of course, there's all the supplemental resources that we sent out to families, but again, that took a lot of student and family initiative, which in those first months were just so hard since so many families were suffering job loss or had lots of kids at home, or cousins were coming together for, to have childcare provided by family members while other family was at work. Of course, people were becoming ill. So it was just kind of all over the place. And there was no great structure in the beginning for kids to turn in work digitally, especially first graders. Clark County was one-to-one technology wise, or was supposed to be, especially third through fifth grade. They did all have Chromebooks, but getting iPads in the hands of pre-K, kinder, and first really took through like this past November to truly have everyone have technology in their hands and it be updated and, you know, what's the word? Go with Zoom, compatible with Zoom, because Google Meets was really hard and just a very different. It just wasn't as smooth. Google Meets was not as smooth, and so we use Zoom countywide now. And second through fifth graders with laptops use Google Classroom very successfully, but we have found Class Dojo actually works really well for first graders. You can upload a PDF of a worksheet and they can draw on it and submit it to you all right there on Dojo, and it's just a lot simpler. So I'm so glad we finally figured that out here just after winter break. So anyway, sorry, I lost backtrack. So I tried to make YouTube videos every day to go with those worksheets and the packets that had been printed for the kids, have a morning meeting and read aloud. Ultimately, I think it was good for the kids to see my face, but they were lengthy videos and weren't as engaging as live class. And certainly, again, to watch them and do your work with it, you would really have to have an adult help you get started and, keep you focused. So by the end of April, students, families, teachers, everyone was burnt out from this just kind of week to week trying to figure something out, it changing, no real concrete expectations for teachers or students. And honestly, we were told, no one's going to be retained. It's pass or fail, and you can't fail anyone. Because there was just not enough data, and students that were receiving interventions really weren't able to continue receiving them. So it wasn't equitable, I think would be the right word. It wasn't equitable to retain them because we weren't able to provide their services completely. So yeah, and many of my coworkers had children themselves and were stretched extremely thin. And so Clark County decided to informally end instruction on May 1st, but really it was the end of the school year. And all in all, students missed, I would say, about 2 months or more of really valuable instruction time. So some students never got engaged with teachers or submitted any work. It was apparent that students receiving interventions had completely missed that really valuable learning time of fourth quarter after spring break to the end of the year when you've got all your procedures in place and you're seeing kids move a ton of reading levels and light bulb moments. We missed that whole chunk. So I hesitate to label that like as a super negative deficit because I do think kids have learned a ton being at home. They've had a lot of downtime and they've had to grow up really fast to handle the pandemic, even 5 and 6 year olds. So they have learned many things, I would say. They may be not the standards we're teaching, but they have been learning through observation for sure, and just responsibility that they've had to take on as kids in the pandemic. Over the summer, I really found myself pining for like normal school. And so I took it upon myself to buy a book that I had heard lots of teachers talk about that I worked with called The First 6 Weeks of School. You may or may not read it. It's written by the Responsive Classroom. And I really dug in and really loved it. It gives very concrete kind of schedules of the first 2 or 3 weeks of school. And it says like on the first day, you should play this get to know you game. And then you should explore crowns for this long. And here's some questions to ask. Like just very concrete schedule. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is how you form really good classroom community. It was a great light bulb moment for me. And then of course, I got all excited about that and made all these beautiful Google slides and was like ready for a regular start to the school year. But Clark County did did end up delaying school to start till September, of course, as some of y'all know. And so we really needed to like hit the ground running because we were a month late getting started, but really it had been like a 4-month summer. And really that was like 6 months for some students that during the spring break to end of school year really didn't engage. So I greatly abridged and adapted the first 6 weeks of school to fit in for like a virtual first 2 weeks of school. And I'm so happy I did that because after 2 years of teaching and, you know, having come from UGA and had really like big ideas of what I wanted to be as a teacher and how I wanted to treat kids, it's just so hard those first 2 years to like stay true to yourself and your teaching philosophy, and advocate for what you believe fresh out of college when everyone else around you has been doing it longer, and you want to respect that, but then you also want to be like, but I think kids are capable of, you know, sharing and having a positive culture and all those things. So I planned silly games and the first weeks of morning meeting and like still plan to explore our math manipulatives we had passed out during a drive-through distribution. Like, all right, let's play with our cubes. Who can build this with them? Oh, I see you're building that. And that was really fun. And I think the kids really enjoyed being engaged in September and October. And I just advocate that you should advocate for yourself and know that even in a digital setting, it's still your classroom and you have the chance to make everyone that logs into the Zoom meeting feel welcome. And for example, like our math schedule said, we're going to start at 8:45. You have 15 minutes for morning meeting. That includes your announcements video from the school that may be 10 minutes long some days. And I said, okay, well, we're going to watch that because that's great way to have school community. But then I think everyone needs to share the first 2 weeks of school, and you need to share. I shared as the teacher, and they really got to know me, and I showed pictures of things, and I didn't try to create this super sterile version of myself. Like I'm a real human. This is my home. It is funny. A lot of the kids did not know I was teaching from home for the longest time because I did have like a calendar up behind me and a whiteboard. I was like, no, yep, I'm at home. That's my dog. And who you hear right now? Because, yep, I'm at home. And yeah, to this day, we still never start math on time. But I really think those first 2-3 weeks of letting every child share every day, doing the Go Noodles, letting them pick, or singing, teaching songs. I found some COVID songs to nursery rhymes that we worked on. And that's what this book, The First 6 Weeks of School, really, again, lays out what a solid morning meeting looks like. And doing all those components, taking breaks after you've had the kids sit there for more than 30 minutes, having them stop and take a break, come back positive. You know, if they can't find the page in their book, help them be a problem solver and move on. Those kind of things paid off when we did get to be in person in November. And then when we came back after winter break, it was really tough. Everyone was burnt out from virtual teaching in November. We got our time together in person and then went back virtually. And it really was hard after the winter break. Yeah. So sharing is something we still do every day, but not everyone shares every day. And some days I ask a question as part of my morning message, and some days I don't. But I think it comes and goes now. And when the kids have something really important to share, they know they can. And that's what I wanted ultimately, was not to force anyone to share in the beginning. But I mean, gosh, we just took like, you know, writing everyone's name out on a poster and like, you know, everyone saying their name in their favorite color and making charts and just everyone hearing their name when they come in, when you say goodbye. Calling on everyone at least once a day was huge. So virtually may not be the same, but I do love field trips, and we couldn't do our like classic field trips I love doing. So we've done a lot of virtual things, not just virtual field trips, because those end up being mostly videos, but some really great guest speakers that have come. My dad came and talked about working on Jimmy Carter's presidential campaign and inauguration, and they loved that. Leading up to inauguration, I added in fun facts every day about inauguration and presidents, and they loved it. We had one of our students' moms works at the Athens Chamber of Commerce. She came and talked about being a citizen of Athens and what that could look like. My mom came and just did a fun read aloud. And I had a college professor come and talk about the Muskogee first people who lived in Middle Georgia and Athens, where I'm from Middle Georgia, so that was the connection. But the kids loved that, and it was a great way to engage them around Thanksgiving and talking about first people or native people in a culturally responsive way. There's my dog again. So, yeah, I think students' interests can be explored virtually, and even in some ways, you can like jump to it and get it in and make it feel like, oh, yeah, here's this question. Let me Google it. Like our Black History Person of the Day on announcements. I just every day now Google a little video, like bio for kids of who was someone the other day. I was so amazed. There's so much I've learned that I didn't know about, Sojourner Truth, and that she was alive at the same time as Harriet Tubman, but they had different stories. And just, we've had so much fun Googling stuff. And obviously, previewing it so it's appropriate is important. But again, so yeah. I still have a super positive behavior system in place through our school, and you can do that too. I think, again, back in September, putting in the legwork of making some home deliveries really mattered to create that culture. And now they know, like if I say I'm keeping up with their points on Class Dojo and writing it down when they do certain things, that when we get back to the classroom, they'll get X, or we're earning class-wide rewards now, like getting another class pet that'll be a stuffed animal. And I have a class pet that does travel around to their houses. And they love that. Little things, if you build it up in the beginning, they will carry through and be positive rewards throughout the year. So we have a really common culture, and that's basically what I wanted to tell y'all, was that it is possible to teach on Zoom and have a really positive culture. Ultimately, kids want to be a part of everything as much as grown-ups do, and that kids are just as much a part of the pandemic as adults are. And in a lot of ways, they're stuck at home and not having really any control over their situation. Sorry, dog toy. And if teaching is your passion, I just want to tell you that this is a good time to do it. And I know it must be scary graduating college in the midst of all this, but be wise and resourceful. Find a daily mantra that really fills you up and reminds you of your teaching philosophy. Just focus your energy on that, because there's so much we can't control. I know that first year at Alps was really tough for me, but I had gone to Italy on the study abroad with Dr. Tolley the summer before I started at Alps, and had found a poster that I really liked, and I put it in the teacher bathroom. And some days that were really hard. There were really hard days, but I would read it and be like, oh yeah, children do have all of these ideas. And if you ever look it up, it's the 100 Languages of Children from Reggio Emilia. It's a great poem. It reminds you that like kids are telling you stuff all the time, and you just got to listen to them and be responsive and kind and gentle. And I found like families have a ton of grace with me if I have a ton of grace with them, because this is just hard for everyone. Here I've almost talked 20 minutes about it, and I could go on for longer. So feel free anytime to reach out. Know that you can still make a difference in the lives of your students, and they're going to make a difference in your life, whether you meet them over Zoom and whether you meet them in person or outside, whether you go around and put little things in their mailbox whenever you can to reward them. They will love it, and you will love it. They still want to laugh and play and have fun and be 6 or however old. Even 10-year-olds still want to play and have fun. So do what you have learned to do. I'm sure you're going to all be great, and I'll be thinking about you. Sorry I couldn't be there to answer questions, but that's my whole spiel. And Dr. Sailor has my contact info, and I'd be happy to friend you on Facebook and help you however I can. You're going to make the world a better place, one day at a time, one child at a time. Sorry, so cliche, but so true. Y'all are great. Go dogs.